As the pace of change accelerates and industry pressures grow to create more, better, faster, design and make industries need to find new ways to facilitate collaboration and increase efficiency. Autodesk is building a platform to help connect your project and product life cycles.
I will be the host for today for Miss Carolina and of course Ram for the topic about connected construction in action, real-time collaboration with Autodesk Build. So the first question is, how often does rework happen on your projects? So most of you answered almost every project and some answer occasionally. So with this one, it will be this question will be addressed to you by, of course, Carolina and Ram, who are the expert when it comes to build. What would help you work smarter in construction? This is a nice question. Collaboration, integrated costs, and of course, better documentation, version control, and of course, insights and dashboard. Of course, this is like a dream working smarter. For today is about collaboration in construction industry, common data environment, introduction to Autodesk Construction Cloud Build, demo and highlights, success stories, and as well as Q&A. Now, moment of truth. Of course, we have Mr. Ram. Ram is, of course, everyone knows Ram, which is a senior technical consultant for Reddington. He has a deep understanding for Autodesk ecosystem and regional industry needs. He shed lights on how centralized collaborative construction, helping companies align with BIM standards for smarter design coordination to the faster production. We also have Carolina Fong, my colleague. She is the co-founder and digital engineering manager of Accienta. She is with a proven success stories of implementing Autodesk Construction Cloud, built for owners, contractors, and consultants, guiding clients through change and leveraging the use of technology for operations. Okay, passing over to Carolina and Ram.
Thank you, Bill, so much for that nice introduction about us and about what we're going to discuss today. So without further ado, I'll continue with the presentation. So let's start talking about the digital transformation journey of different companies. So as Isabel already mentioned, we as Accienta and of course Reddington and the rest of the Autodesk ecosystem, we help companies transform during different stages that we've lived in, right? So in the earlier days when things were done with pen and paper, when it comes to architectural drawings or designs, things shifted to what we call 2D CAD, or the well-known product AutoCAD, where companies started to work in a digital project instead of a manual or print project. But then things kept transforming and kept evolving into what we call BIM, or Building Information Modeling. This is basically having the asset in 3D with the most important information, as the name says, and in a model format, right? So all of you know products like Revit that help achieve these different BIM standards. But recently, let's say in the past 5 to 10 years, things have been moving faster, and especially in the construction industry, which wasn't disrupted by technology as much as, let's say, the architectural part that we know this transition happened before. And we went into what we call BIM in the cloud, or collaboration in the cloud, because sometimes clients may ask us or tell us, well, we're not necessarily doing BIM yet, but we do want to collaborate. We have remote offices or even in the same country, but they don't sit together, or we need to have a live model or documents. So that's where BIM in the cloud is quite useful. And that's the focus of this webinar in particular, that will cover most of the topics. But also looking into the future, there is this concept of digital twin that I'm sure many of you have heard of. It's basically having the digital asset as a copy of what the physical asset will be. This is very useful for later project stages like operation and maintenance, when you want to know which specific parts of the project need to be maintained, what are the materials, maybe the vendors that produce these items, etc. So the whole digital transformation of companies in the industry go through there. But what happened in the construction industry in particular, right? So it's fragmented, it's paper-based processes, especially when we go to site. we still don't see that all companies, it varies from company to other, how digitally friendly or how mature they are at this point. But of course, each company has a different journey because the companies are made of people, and you need to upskill your people and hire resources to have a combination of knowledge to go through your transformation. So what else do we see in the construction industry? It's contract-based, specifically in our region. We know that individual stakeholder thinks of their needs. And when we say individual stakeholder, we mean the architect or consultant, the contractor, and the owner. Each one has their own perspective on the project, what's important to them, and what they want to care about. And usually it's based on their contract, right? So sometimes there's a lack of transparency that could help projects themselves for data. There is maybe no standardization, and this ends up having each project operating in a unique manner. So there is not a standardized way of capturing data and, of course, analyzing or comparing that data. And last but not least, issue gathering and resolution. So lack of accountability or transparency. We also see that many of the construction professionals are still using 3 to 6 apps because the landscape in technology for construction is quite vast, but people still rely on things like email or sharing services on cloud. Without permissions, you are just transferring files, maybe even things like WhatsApp, etc. So these are not connected workflows. And that's why Autodesk focused on creating a solution that can help teams find a seamless way to identify issues and circulate them to the appropriate stakeholders. What else happens in the industry is that there's still a lot of data that is captured via spreadsheets or Excel that we all know. And maybe this data is transferred manually. Maybe someone creates dashboards on what someone is updating on that sheet. So there is still data loss and not a continuity, let's say, of that data. In the end, all of this lack of accurate and timely information results in rework costs because there is a misunderstanding of things like what's the latest drawing, should we build this based on which version of drawing once we're on site, of course, and what are the latest approved items, materials, etc. So all kinds of submittals, what we call in the industry as well. And again, this is time that is lost in the projects, what we call non-optimal activities, varying from a role to other, but it could be calling a subcontractor to understand what's the latest status, asking someone to send the latest photography of site of what's been done there. So back to the main point, whether that is BIM or BIM in the cloud, we are talking about the I layer, which is information, preserving critical information in these different project stages of the entire project lifecycle, from planning to design to construction and operations. We have in the traditional way of working that in these data transfers, there is data loss. One, because of these contracts are segmented to each individual stakeholder interest, plus probably there is not one platform that is centralizing this collaboration for the owners or for the entire project lifecycle. So we want a data continuity that is more integrated, more collaborative. And of course, there's a desired position and the current position if utilizing the technology. This is where the concept of a CDE or common data environment comes in. Because with the absence of a centralized platform, like we said, there is fragmented communication, data duplication, no standardization, and this results in reduced project efficiency and increased risk. And it's not only Autodesk or us from the Autodesk ecosystem saying this, even consulting firms like McKinsey say that companies rely on data to drive key decision-making. And of course, if that data is not robust, is not good, it wasn't captured in a certain standardized ways, the decision-making process will be slow, will not be accurate. And again, this all translates to efficiency and cost savings. So this concept of common data environment is basically a central location for managing and sharing information related, like we said, to build assets, and it facilitates the collaboration among project stakeholders. There are many value proposition statements into this, which is improving the data exchange, the time, the collaboration, the transparency, all those things that we already mentioned. So again, just to summarize, we have the legacy collaboration, which is fragmented, no standardized processes, things on paper, things digitally, information everywhere, and the duplication, of course. Maybe a company has a file, one version, and the other entity thinks this is the latest version. So that's what we know. Once we introduce the concept of common data environment, at least all the project stakeholders are in the same ecosystem, collaborating with their own perspectives in it, right? So sometimes also companies ask us, but what about permissions? I don't want X stakeholder to see these certain files, or that's perfectly fine. The platform itself is based on permissions, companies, and roles, so you can customize your own folder structure the way you want the different stakeholders to view the information, and the permissions if they can collaborate on files or simply view them, for example. And what kind of files can we store in the cloud? By the way, if anyone has any questions, please feel free to type them. We will ask them at the end of the session. So what kind of information we have in this CDE? We can have things like PDFs, of course, AutoCAD drawings, Revit drawings. We can have all types of Office files like Excel, PowerPoint, Word. We can have many other things like photos, video, etc. But what is really useful, besides collaborating in the same file, is that the system, because it's smart, is going to track the versions of the files. You can add what we call custom attributes or additional metadata associated to each file. So if you want to add, for example, discipline or many other things, you can have that. And all of that works as future filters you can use to check the information. You can also compare drawings, for example, compare files. You can have the history of who viewed the file, who edited the file. So it's quite robust. It's not only storing the data and letting everyone collaborate in the same environment, but it's also hosting all that transparency that the current model lacks. Then there's also that connection, of course, of people, processes, and data to improve that performance, because if we capture data in that structured manner, we can then have on top of these things like insights and analytics, like the question that Belle asked at the beginning of the webinar. Of course, you want that real-time collaboration, but you also want dashboards, and you also want to make use of that data for decision-making, basically. You can also have your system follow ISO 19650 standards as an example. Now, I'll let Ram start to discuss more about CDE, and we'll continue our joint discussion in a bit.
That's amazing, Caroline. Thank you so much. I hope my screen is visible. Yeah, great. That's a wonderful one to understand how the cloud solutions from the Autodesk are connecting the projects team to get the works done from the start to end, where all the projects are involved with a lot of people with the various skills and the type of data. At the end of the day, how you gonna manage those data to get the projects done on time. And moreover, we need to have the dedicated storage for all the data to be saved. And not only that, at the same time, the data should be reached to the right person on right time. That is more important over here, right? Many occasions, like we might see the project work is completed, or the report which we need to send it to the project team is ready. Due to the poor communication, the data may stick hold and it won't move further. And that's what we did a common data environment. In general, it's called as a CDE, which means that it's a centralized project data which can efficiently connect the project team to have the data in one central access, and you ensure you are accessing the real-time data to drive the project outcomes in a better way. Let's see more about the common data environment now. Right. So what are the key components which includes the common data environment? The first thing is we need to have the place to store our data. That's what the centralized data storage which is available over here. And as Caroline mentioned a while ago, the type of data or the file formats, there is no constraint on the file formats over here. For me, I can say that it can accept the file formats which we are using in our architectural and design project industries. That could be over a Revit file or AutoCAD or any sort of the Excel and the images, or you just do a site visit and you wanted to just capture a photograph, or you wanted to just record the season, what is happening over there, and you can put it across into the cloud. And how do you collaborate with the people here? You have so much data and you have to make sure the data reaches to the right person at the right time. So you have the permission level to be given to the certain access, and the communication can have digitally over here, so that This communication will avoid a persona to share a WhatsApp message or a kind of a telephone call where we're going to spend a lot of time on those, and it can be potential communications to the project team. Once the access level is given to the people, then how do they gonna control this? We can just give the access level whether the person to view the file or download the file, work collaboratively on the cloud model to have the design changes, who made the design changes. So what would be the design reviews that you can identify, and who is initiating the design reviews, and so that will connect if anything happens to your audit trail and the complaints as well. And not only that, there are a lot of other integrations with other systems. For example, if you are the persona in your company having a large amount of data in another ecosystem, not into Autodesk, the other integrations can easily help you to connect those to get all the data transferred to the document management with the Autodesk Cloud. Or you can also have the integration to access those data within the same ecosystem, and that's what the data accessibility over here. And there is a thing where you can also automate your workflow, right? For example, if you are just creating the workflow of a sort of one manager approval or two designers approval or one reviewer, you can also just automate the workflow over here, right? So these are the key components, which includes the common data environment. And now this common data environment purely into the design project industries. That's what you can view the picture which we kept aside over there. Now, within that common data environment, there is a standard which is mandated now, getting mandated now to follow in all the building projects, which is ISO 19650. So what exactly it is? So the document management is the repository where the work in progress folder structure will create to have the access for the discipline ABC, which is architectural, structural, and MEP, and where it's just happening like checking, reviewing, and approving all the stuff. And that's going to be a shared folder for the design collaboration, where the real design team working together on one particular model, sharing the ideas and coming up with the early design changes and all those stuff. And once that again review and authorization is done, that should be published. So what happened here is, when you're just publishing this, the information authorized to use with more detailed design, and you can also leverage it to the asset management as well. And the other side, if you can see, the Autodesk Common Data Environment solution supports ISO 19650, which is considered like international standards, aiming to quality, efficiency, and the collaboration built environment projects over here. Now, that's a cloud collaboration. Okay, we know what is common data environment, and there is so-called standard ISO 19650 is also equipped in that. But how do we start collaborating here? You have the devices like kind of either you can use your laptop or the computer, or if you have the tablet or mobile access also, you can just have it here. You can also just view and capture the incidents, and you can also just share the information to a person who is involved into the project. Obviously, you have to include the people who are relatedly working into the projects. You have to just put it on the repository. And the review and the managers will have the better insight about identifying a particular issue on a project, or the total issues which is created by the particular end user, or where would be the root cause, how to identify the root cause over there, or to prepare the checklist of all the issues over there. So that's going to be a very high level dashboard that you can just come up with your insights. Now, if you think about like benefits of cloud and the field management here, if you can see that, it's like 40 percentage value adding here, all right, and 60 percentage non-value adding, which means that wasted time, all right. So the time where we have to spend, that is less than 40%, that time where we can optimize and come up with a better idea, so that's where the project team is spending more than 60% of value added, which means that doing the rework, design changes, working on the same design options for long, but we couldn't get the revisions ready. And then after a week's time, the first revision is getting approved, but all the works, whatever we do, maybe in some other day, that may be kind of the accepted revisions. But how do we save the revisions over there? Rather saving the file individually, the cloud system will allow you to make the revisions ready, and anytime you can click on the revision and you can compare the design changes. The average time here, 15% efficiency gain through mobile and the cloud. Yeah, so it's not like kind of you have to use the mobile applications for your dedicated cloud platform. You can use the mobile applications if you're the reviewer to quickly comment on something which is addressed to you. You can quickly use the mobile application, just like kind of how quickly we used to see the SMS and the WhatsApp over there. So it's the cloud field benefits, which is you are connected to the field. Not only that, you do the design from your design offers, the data travel to the construction site where the things are getting constructed. You can also just connect the design to the field in a better insights. Now, if you say that again, the more benefit here, like, the more the more what people look into a project is the quality. That could be a type of a data or information inside the data, or the model, the federated model, or the team who can design the optimized time for the better decision making. Yeah, you have the effort and the time. Now, what happened here is we're going to spend a lot of time on the early informed design. At the same time that, the decision making also will take a time. Typically, that will be on the cost of design changes. So having that improved schedule and quantity, you have a clear visibility of your inspections and the issue status as well, whether it is closed, in progress, or it's a pending and stuff. And more time you can spend on value adding the task. Instead doing the rework, you can do a value add the task that is potentially elevate the project teams to move next level. Yeah. on the go. So we know the data, the people, the technology, the process, where all it comes from. It's all like in a single source of truth. A common data environment that connects the project team, that includes your design consultant, the contractor, main contractor, the owner, the facility managers and stuff, where every stakeholder will have the dedicated access to their file and data to make sure what are the RFIs are done, to make sure whether the project status is ready, to also to make sure that what would be the schedule for the upcoming months, to have it on the interior design plan or the coordination drawings ready to be issued to the subcontractor who is working on the CCTV or other ELB stuff over there. Which means that, so this slide will show you a complete information about how the collaboration is happening, how the quality communication is traveling between the team, and who are the team of people or joined together in this ecosystem, and where the communications will happen. And one more thing here, this common data environments as a cloud storage, which is unlimited to the Autodesk subscribers. Yeah. I hope now I'll just give to Caroline to proceed further.
Thank you, Ram, for those details about CDE and diving deeper. So I will go back to that. Awesome. So now we'll dive deeper into the technical aspects of Autodesk Construction Cloud. We went through all this introduction because we do want to highlight how important the CDE concept is, why all this came about. Autodesk is quite known for authoring tools that we know and love, like AutoCAD and Revit, InfraWorks, Civil 3D, and many more. But why this cloud collaboration aspect is growing a lot all over the world? It's because there is the need to collaborate regardless of location, keeping the information in one place, all of that we discussed. Now, if we go into the technical details of Autodesk Construction Cloud, there are different modules within Autodesk Construction Cloud that you can access based on your subscription. So for this webinar, we're going to focus in Autodesk Build and Docs, which is part of Autodesk Build as well. But just to let you know that there is also Autodesk BIM Collaborate and BIM Collaborate Pro that can help you to work in work sharing for Revit, real-time collaboration, Autodesk Takeoff for 2D and 3D quantity takeoff. Now, if we focus in the document management aspect, as you can see here, it's the building layer of ACC. It's connecting all of the document management folder structure, permissions, versions, type of files, metadata, as we said, and there are reports and insights that can be obtained from here. But at the same time, this is also the building layer of Autodesk Build, because from Autodesk Build, we can also access all these files, view all of that based on the permissions, but we have other functionality on top of what Docs can offer. So we have things around project management like RFIs, submittals, meeting minutes, and reports. We have quality and safety aspects with issues, with submittals, with forms. And there is a cost management module that is also included when you get the subscription for Build, where you can have your budget, your cost, and of course, because inside Build there is a schedule functionality that will dive deeper into it, but basically you can import your schedule for, let's say, Primavera P6, Microsoft Project, Asta Power Project. You can connect that to cost and be able to even do forecasting. So the complexity and the use of technology can be low to high. Of course, as we mentioned, it's a journey for each client. And we are here to showcase the main examples of where this can be applied. So if we want to look at it from a visual perspective, because sometimes this is better to understand where ACC sits, we have the design aspect, where there are these authoring tools that we mentioned. Of course, if you have a license of BIM Collaborate Pro, as an example, you're already doing work sharing from the cloud directly in your authoring tools. If you are only using the cloud, you can store these files. And as we said, not only store and view files from the Autodesk suite, also from Microsoft Office and so many file types. You can do the version control and view them from within Autodesk Construction Cloud. We have Docs, the document management aspect, and other modules like Takeoff that we mentioned before. Now, for today's session, we will focus in Autodesk Build, as we mentioned here, which is for the construction part of the project. But later on, when we go to operations and this concept of digital twin that we highlighted at the beginning, there are also other Autodesk solutions like Autodesk Standard that you can explore to learn more. These are just some of the 2D and 3D file formats that you can view within ACC, but there are so many more, and this keeps updating. Now, how ACC looks like? First of all, because it's a cloud-based solution, you don't need to install anything. You just need to use your web browser. We recommend using Google Chrome for that. You log in as you would an email with your Autodesk username and password, which usually is your email address from work and the password associated to that license. You log in and you can view all the files based on your permissions. Of course, these are just examples of 3D models viewed from the tablet or from the phone application. And there is, of course, model interaction there. And because it's a cloud solution, you can view files anytime, anywhere. So going back to the document management aspect, how this looks like, as you see here in this image, you can have a specific folder structure with a look and feel that is very familiar to many people who are not yet using collaborative tools. So it's an easy transition. That's usually where we start the, let's say, transformation for a client that has never used cloud. They can start to at least have documents there, view documents, comparing them, and have this version control and document approvals as well. So these document approvals from Docs can be multiple steps, and they can be linear or have also multiple reviewers, which is quite useful when approving things like drawings, for example. This is extensively used. Then when we move into Build, of course, you have all of these Docs functionality, but on top of that, we have other aspects that we discussed, like project management, quality management, safety, project closeout, cost, etc. So what you're seeing here in the right is an example of functionality we call issues. And what this helps companies in the construction industry is when you are on site, you can simply take your mobile or tablet and generate issues from site and sync that to all the information that is centralized in ACC. So as an example, if you're the construction company or consultant or owner, and you have all your projects in ACC, you can, from one centralized scenario, look at all your different projects, the photos there, the forms there, the different issues, what has been updated, so the visibility is live versus the traditional way of working, in which maybe each person on a project, whether that's the document controller or someone who helps the project manager, it's constantly updating. Maybe there's a weekly report done manually by an Excel sheet or a dashboard. So this is data that is flowing, but there isn't someone modifying those reports. It's all coming directly from the system. So not only saves time, it makes sure that all the information is accurate, it's transparent, and is live. So we have all these aspects here. And now going more into the technical, of course, if you have any more questions, we are also happy to provide further sessions in the future. You can reach out to us via email, because of the time of the webinar, we'll cover only certain aspects of Build, but we want to give you an overall vision of what it contains. So inside Autodesk Build, what are some of the functionality we can highlight here? As we mentioned, issues, so issue creation and tracking, for quality, safety, or any type of communication with subcontractors. Forms that, again, can be used, yes, as we mentioned, for quality and safety, but also maybe inspections, maybe site reports, maybe progress tracking, up to you. And I'll go into that in a second. But basically, you can customize and create your own form. So that gives you a broad possibilities or spectrum of possibilities for your projects. We also have meeting minutes, reports, and schedule, cost, and forecast. So starting with issues, like we mentioned, technically, an issue can be anything that you need to circulate between different stakeholders, and you want to have accountability on when it was created, who should respond to it, and associate different information within Autodesk Construction Cloud to a specific issue. And what I mean by that is, like we said, the functionality spectrum of ACC is big. So maybe for a particular issue, you need to attach an image, or you need to attach a file that lives in a certain part of the folder structuring files. All of that is possible in the system in a smart way. So whenever someone opens that specific issue, they will be able to see what exactly was associated to it. So an example here is, this is from the mobile app. You can have a sheet of your specific floor plans for the project, or as you want to divide your project, generate an issue by selecting a place in that sheet, and an issue category and type. Again, these categories and types, technically speaking, they can be customized. This is called quality, but you can call it whatever you want. If you have a specific naming for issues in your company, or you want to refer to a specific process, you can also do this as an admin. And start date, due date, you can assign it to a specific person or company who needs to reply, have a root cause for it, etc. And of course, add references to it, as we mentioned, which is very important, because references are other items of ACC that you can associate it. You can have a specific location if you do the location breakdown structure of your project in Build. So that could be, for example, if you have 4 towers, tower 1, 2, 3, 4 of the project, and then you can have by levels or by rooms, up to you how you want to split your projects. But you see here in references, we have the other areas of the system. So this gives a lot of visibility to your issues. Now, photos, to complement that information we are capturing on site, you can take and store photos, 360 photos or videos, and they will all live in ACC, as we mentioned. There's also specific tags that can be added either manually or automatically. And you can reference, like we mentioned before, these photos to other areas of the system itself. This is just another example of how simple it is to use the mobile app to capture these images on site, add specific markups or comments, and also associate these to, or reference it to other areas in the system. Add the tags, etc. Now, when it comes to meeting minutes is, again, it's a broad functionality within Build, because it can be used to coordinate, like this example, material and mock-up meeting, or it could be about drawing coordination. It could be about schedule, or any type of topic that you want to discuss with your teams, and you need to keep a specific thread within the system. You can create different threads. And of course, each of those threads will have the full history of the meetings, who attended, who was invited, if there are specific items within the meeting, who this is assigned to, when is the due date, and if there is any reference around it. And because we have also in Build the correspondence module, which is basically like an email interaction, let's say, you can also associate aspects from that correspondence to other areas of the system. We also have the forms. So what forms help companies is to unify their templates, to do that transition from paper to digital. And you can either build it from within Autodesk Build or upload a smart PDF form that you created outside. The smart PDF form means that it will have a specific format that you created with logos, with certain types of refillable parts of the form. But again, this is pre-configured, let's say, when it's a smart PDF. You can change the permissions from within Build and add references, like we said, from other areas like assets, photos, files, and more. This is, again, just an example of how a specific form would look like, how we can filter on that information. And once you have it as a template in the project, you can just launch it based on your permissions from the mobile app, fill it out. This is an example of a smart PDF form. So once we open it, you'll be able to see that some of the items are pre-filled, maybe like the project name or the company, and then we just fill out certain items and we are good to go. Now, when it comes to schedule, we get a lot of questions always, because we know that for construction, like Ram mentioned before, something that is very important is time, quality, and collaboration, right? So the time aspect is the schedule. It's where we say which activities should be done, in which order, what kind of dependencies there are. So Primavera and the planning part of the project is crucial. So in Build, you can import Primavera P6 files, Microsoft Power Project, Asta Power Project files. And of course, something that is important to highlight is from within Build, we are not going to modify the native file, but we are going to use it to collaborate in it. So what we mean by that is that we can suggest relevant updates like percentage complete, if there may be a delay or cost impact. And all of these suggested changes are going to be sent to what we call the schedule manager, so they can review those suggestions. How do you import the schedule? Is as quick and easy as what we are seeing now. Of course, everything in the system is permission-based, as we mentioned before, so don't worry. You can have, let's say, 5 types of schedule within the project, and not necessarily all team members will have access to those 5. You can give certain schedule to only the planners, only the PMs, one for all the team. So it's up to you. And besides this full schedule visibility, we also have work plans, which are like shorter look aheads for maybe only a week or 2 that we want to manually create some tasks based on that plan. It can also be done here. So everything is coming from your Primavera file. You can filter that data, you can see it, you can, as you said, suggest the specific changes, and this is quite useful for our clients. Then when we go to costs, we have this cost management module included into Build. As we mentioned before, there are stages of that digital transformation. We usually recommend to start with Docs and Build and then moving to cost, because the cost implementation will be more complex in the sense that usually construction companies will already have an ERP system, and we need to clarify that this doesn't compete with an ERP system. This complements the operations of the company, because what we do with the cost management module is we create specific budget items that can come from the information that you already have in the ERP when you create that project. Use the same cost codes that you are using already so that information can be structured in a similar way, and then create the contracts from within the system as well. And this will help to track things like change orders, maybe payment applications if you need. And something that we get asked a lot also is, can we integrate the ERP with the cost management module? The answer is yes. It requires consulting services, of course, but it's possible. It's possible with many ERP solutions out there. So please reach out if you want to know more details about this. And of course, last but not least, if we are having the schedule and the cost items in the system and we are able to link them at the same level, there's even a forecast functionality within the platform that can create certain types of forecast distributions and cash flow analysis. Now, there are partner and custom integrations that sit on top of Autodesk Construction Cloud from APS, or you can use API to connect. You can also use what we call ACC Connect, which is a no-code tool that can do specific automated workflows. As an example, you want to replicate certain files from ACC to SharePoint or to another entity that is needed, or you need to create a trigger when something is done in the system. All these things can be done using ACC Connect and more. Now, we went through the digital and technological aspect of all the functionalities that we want to highlight in this webinar. There are many more that are great within Build, and the platform keeps evolving, so please reach out if you want a personalized demo based on your specific needs. But we want to show you also that we are not just selling a product. We as Accienta and Redington, we care about that digital transformation process of companies. So we want to highlight success stories of clients that we appreciate in the region that have been a crucial part of our journey of proving that these solutions have applications in our construction industry, even though people are still sometimes thinking or hesitating about adopting technology in an industry that is not evolving as fast as others maybe are. We can see this transformation and the benefits that it gives. For example, with Hansaheb, which is one of the most important and the oldest construction company in Dubai, they've done so many iconic projects in the past, including the airport, for example. We help them transform their connection to site using Autodesk Build. They have saved so much time, and they have this transparent ecosystem where no longer paper is required as part of the process. This has saved time. This has added a lot of great workflows that they use. They have it now in all their projects, which is something that we really feel impressed as a client. They've developed their own dashboards. So, by the way, there is an Autodesk class that they given last year and won many awards. We recommend it, and this year they'll be presenting as well. So that makes us really proud of the impact that solutions like ACC have in our market and our region as a whole. We also have another success story, which is Graphite. Graphite is a consultant firm, plus they have a very interesting way in the way they operate that in their specific case, we did a success story with Autodesk, covering how they use not only Build, but also Takeoff to do estimation and docs. And they give visibility to the client because they can see the actual 3D models from within the platform. And this is a game changer in terms of collaboration, in terms of visibility, using the different functionality of ACC. And it has been a pleasure to see them also transform. They are way ahead when it comes to consultants implementing this kind of solutions. So we are happy to have been part of that story as well. Now, I'd like to invite Ram and Belle to join me again for our Q&A and to have a discussion, dive deeper into these topics.
That's an excellent insight, Caroline, regarding the design to build. It's not only, I mean, again, I wanted to just come back to the point. It's not only showcasing software or a product. So beyond that, there is something called as a solution provider. So the audience who are joined on this webinar have wonderful time on understanding how the Autodesk solutions are evolving in the industry to cater the scenario into the construction projects. And definitely without any integrations, there is no the efficient projects will come up. So if you wanted to have any such integration, or if you wanted to just involve a kind of technical experts to have the workflow in your office to see the travel from paper to digital, please, always, we are happy to be a part of that. And we do also have sort of a success stories that we have seen from the customer as well. Wonderful. So now, it is time for you, the audience joined here. You can just, it's like open questions. So we are really love to hear some questions from your side.
So while we wait for some questions, Ram, I wanted to ask you, and thanks again, everyone, for joining our session today. In your experience, when it comes to digital transformation, because like we mentioned before, one thing is the solution, but also the people and the processes. What would you recommend as a first step for a company who may be afraid to change, or they may think that the investment is way too high to start that transformation? What would you tell them?
Definitely, it's not the easy step immediately to start for it, because as a big organization, people will always think about first the existing project schedule, one thing. So though they are spending time on the new executions, at the same time they need to keep an eye on the existing stuff. But not to jump in a high level, we can just have discovery sessions with the customer first place, like just to understand their existing workflow, the type of projects that they have done, and the project experiences are really good. So we can also ask them to share their project pain points, and then how they found out the solutions on it, and what are the tools and the technology, or so-called the process that they have used to transform. So in that way, we can also just travel along with their workflow to tell them that, you don't need to panic, and it's not like a quick change that you're gonna see by today, because it's like kind of a digital transmission. So you have to be aware of the tools that you use in your project experiences, and those tools will help you to save a lot of time, and also they can take you digitally where it's gonna be a good learning curve. At the end of the day, the experiences gonna gain more, and we're gonna put ourselves into the next level to compete the industry of understanding where the construction, the design to build is happening, and we can also be under the same roof.
Thank you, Raman. This last point that you made, which is that competitive advantage, 100% I agree. Because companies sometimes are either afraid to change or see it as a cost. But in reality, what is the cost of not being on top of your industry? There will be tier one consultants, contractors, and others who are leveraging technology. And maybe you wouldn't see the impacts in a few months. Maybe after years, you'll see how you don't get projects, or you cannot even compete at the same level because the efficiency is simply not there, or the data is not there. So great point there. So we have a question here that says, do we need licensed software to use these cloud services, or the software package comes as part of these cloud-based services for Autodesk? So yeah, this is more around the licensing model. What we can tell you is, if you have an AC collection license, you have included Docs, which is the document management part of ACC. But for Autodesk Build, which comes with Docs, you need to procure it as an item, and there are two licensing types. Of course, reach out to us if you have a specific number or project that you want to quantify, but it can be user-based or unlimited users if it's project-based. So of course, for projects, when you want to have your entire supply chain and everything, we do recommend going project or account-based for this. And yeah, I think this solves this question. And I have another question here, and maybe if you have any insights. It says, there have been some updates made to ACC Desktop Connect. What are the main updates?
That's lovely here. So the desktop connector, of course, the desktop connector is really, really important to connect all your data in your offline mode. And if you ask me what are the new updates that you can see here, is like I would say that the version 16.6.0 is now the latest version. I think it is released, if I'm not wrong, July 31st this year. All right. So there is so-called a data panel, faster file transfers, and there is some improvement happened on the shutdown performance as well. And I could see some fixes have been made during some kind of the workflow. And major update over here, I would say that, I could see there are some file type supports are expanded when it comes into the kind of a file types like .tmi or .rap. Those are the other file formats that most the cloud users will use it, and that don't need the cloud synchronization anymore. And moreover, the viewing capability for your creations become broader now. And as you all well aware that now there is a cloud storage in many different country storages as well. It's not only limited to US and UK. You do also have the data centers in other regions like Singapore, Canada, Australia, and those such. Yeah, these are the regional enhancements that I would say that. But I strongly recommend the users who are using the desktop connector now and do not get impact on any changes. This is fine. And if you feel the desktop connector is not functioning well and it is bothering the user where then update is required, we strongly recommend you to go for the updates and make sure that the updates that you have should be from v16.15 and not lesser than that. Yep.
Thank you, Ram, for this comprehensive question. So we finalized all the questions that you have. I thank you so much for sharing this time with us today. We are so happy to be here. Thanks on behalf of Accienta and Reddington, Ram, Isabel. And our contact information is there. Feel free to reach out via LinkedIn, socials, email. We are here to help. So we just have one last question for you. We want to know what type of support matters the most for you so we can also serve your needs better.
Thank you so much and have a great day.
Thank you everyone for joining the webinar today.
Thank you.
Make friends with the future.